Welcome back, everybody. My name is Kevin. It's good to be here with you this evening from beautiful St. Louis. Now, how many of you have been confused by narcissistic family members, in-laws, siblings, or friends because they have come at you saying, you know what? I didn't know I was hurting you. How many of you have heard that? We didn't know we were bothering you. This, by the way, after you've gone no contact, after you've basically said, game over. I'm done. We're done. We're through. And then suddenly, we didn't know we were bothering you. Now, the confusing part is, well, you do know that you expressed your concerns in the relationship. After all, did they not criticize you and mock you for being too sensitive? So how are they now going to say, well, we didn't know we were bothering you? You see, there's something deeper going on here. It's part of the Jezebel game, if you will, that's trying to keep you in the game of submission and of dominance. And we need to understand this because your no contact and your cutting this relationship off is by far the most important thing that you need to keep in mind. And I'm going to share with you why. Let's talk. My name is Kevin, and this is... Now then, before I do continue, let me remind you that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box right below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp. Also, the Royal We does have a private membership available for you where you get daily live support from me with a growing community of people from all over the world. We have weekly Zoom calls together, weekly fellowship together, and so much more on the Privacy of Members-Only app. And by the way, you will also get exclusive access into my first book, my first book called Revelations. I'm sharing it exclusively with the Royal We members only in the private membership. Now then, let's get into this topic as I sit back here and enjoy this beautiful scenery. Now, I know that many of you, myself included, when we deal with toxic narcissistic people, when you're dealing with that Jezebel, if you will, that Jezebel entitled spirit, you're going to, in fact, come across this time when you are like, game over, I can't even be around this level of deprivation, oppression, this weird, disgusting thing that narcissistic people somehow call love, which it isn't. It's entitlement. And by the way, I encourage you to watch my whole series on entitlement that I did last week. It is by far some of the most important information that you can get about dealing with narcissistic people and understanding the entitled nature of the Jezebel or the narcissistic people, whatever you want to call it, right? The aliens, the lizard people, the demons, whatever you want to call narcissistic, and all of those labels qualify. They really do. But in this message, we're going to talk about this very confusing thing, this power move, if you will, where they approach you and say, you know what, you're distancing yourself now, you're going no contact. We never knew it was that bad. You never said anything. How confusing is that? Because you're saying, I know that I expressed my concerns. I know I did because you mocked me over my concerns. You mocked me for being too sensitive. You told me that I can't take a joke. And so you absolutely knew that you were bothering me. But you see, with narcissistic people, with the Jezebel, with the entitlement, their nature, it goes a lot deeper. And this is what we need to talk about. I'm going to share with you exactly what's taking place, and I know that this is what's taking place because I had a nice long conversation with Jezebel. Yes, I did. I had a very long, somewhat heart-to-heart conversation. As disgusting and as grueling as it is, I went into that mud, I walked through that fire for you to get some answers, and I don't recommend you do it because it is a confusing, absolute, mind-bending situation. There is no understanding Jezebel. There's no fathoming evil and entitlement, right? I promise you, if you can go back and have a sit-down, face-to-face conversation with Hitler, you're going to walk away from that situation feeling stupider and feeling dirty and feeling gross. And that's how I felt having this heart-to-heart with a narcissistic person. I felt absolutely disgusting, like I had literally just walked through hell, okay? But I did get some valuable insight, and that's what I'm going to share with you as to why narcissistic people are capable of saying things like, I never knew I was bothering you, and by the way, they absolutely mean it, and they believe it. And you might be scratching your head, how can they mean it? It sounds like such a lie. Isn't it just more nonsense that they're trying to feed you? Well, in part, they are in fact constantly feeding you nonsense, because in a narcissistic person's upside down world, that's all that exists is nonsense and chaos and evil. That's what the Jezebel operates out of. That's what entitlement operates out of. It's an upside down world that lacks love, lacks empathy, and it's just a bunch of nonsense gibberish to the extent and to the depth that you will never understand, which is why your no contact is super important, because there is no relating to these people. There is no bargaining with Jezebel. There is no point in time where you are going to have a healthy mental connection or understanding what's going on in that sick and twisted half-brain, lizard brain, alien brain, narcissistic brain, whatever you want to call it. All right? But I got to stop going on my little rants here and get to the point. Everybody say, Kevin, get to the point. Get to the point. All right. This is for those of you who lack patience, right? I understand. Now, when narcissistic people, when you're in their life, and they are coming at you sideways. And by the way, you're going to understand a lot about you in this message too, a lot about empaths, because this message is also to validate you as an empathic person, to tell you some things about yourself that you may not be aware of. And these truths about yourself as an empath, by and large, is why you will never get along with Jezebel, why you will never get along with the narcissist, why you will never get along with entitled personalities, okay? Are you ready? When narcissistic people are deliberately attacking you, criticizing you, being passive-aggressive, calling you names, cussing you out, getting in your face and raging and screaming and punching holes in the walls and throwing things and doing everything they can to try to disrupt you, to try to bring chaos into your life, to try to overpower you. Hang on to that word, because this is exactly what's taking place. They're trying to dominate you. They're trying to oppress you. They're trying to get your reaction, because narcissistic people, the Jezebel spirit, entitlement, operates off of your reaction. Now, we all know this. We all know this about narcissistic people. But we don't understand the depths of the reaction that they're trying to achieve. You see, because they lack empathy, because they lack love, their sense of being only comes out of the complete submission of the people around them. The complete submission. Now, this presents a problem for Jezebel. This presents a problem for narcissistic people when they come across an empath like you. Because while the criticisms and the insults from Jezebel, from the devil, from these alien reptilian people, while they do sting, and they do, I've been there, it stings, it's like, dude, why? Why are you saying things so personally hurtful? Man. But here's the truth. Yes, it upsets you. Yes, it gets you in that moment. Yes, it might even enter you into fight or flight. But here's what you don't understand about yourself and your own power as an empath. Are you ready? Because even though in that moment it bothers you, guess what? Your resilience is off the charts. Because of your empathy, because of your ability to love, because of your belief in hope and unity and goodness is so great and so strong, even in fight or flight, you can stand back up and say, I'm still here. I'm still present. I can still be loving. It's all right. I can still hold on to hope that this relationship might become better. This is what drives Jezebel. This is what drives entitlement. This is what drives that evil spirit of narcissism absolutely nuts. And I'll tell you why. Because you have not given them the supply that they're after. You see, you think that they gain supply by criticizing you and insulting you and looking at your reaction in that moment. And they do. They get little bits of supply. They get like breadcrumbs. Essentially, you're breadcrumbing them. They're getting little tiny morsels with these little tiny reactions. However, the meal that they're after, the 4-course meal that Jezebel wants, is your complete submission. You broken, bleeding out, on the ground, crying in pain and in suffering, with Jezebel or the narcissistic person standing over you saying, yes, look at me. Look at what I've done. That is a 4-course meal for a narcissistic person. That is what Jezebel wants. To that image of the king or queen on the throne with the subjects underneath their feet. That's what the devil wants. And that's what you as an empathic person, what I as an empathic person cannot give. We can never submit to Jezebel. We cannot submit to the devil. Even when things are said that are hurtful in the moment, we will present ourselves the next day smiling, ready to love. In a lot of ways, empathic people like you and me, we are kind of the golden retrievers of this world. Yes, we can be afraid of something momentarily. We can fight if we have to. And listen, I had golden retrievers. They're some tough dogs, man. I had the most loving golden retriever when I was young. I raised him up. That dude straight up ripped the ears off of a couple Doberman pinschers. Like annihilated them, right? So golden retrievers are tough, but at the same time, the next day, guess what they're doing? Tongues out their mouths, hanging out, happy, ears perked up, tail wagging, let's play. And that's you and that's me. That's empaths. Now, how is that going to feed Jezebel, whose desire is to rule and govern and to squash you and to oppress you? Do you see the problem that you present for narcissistic people? Do you see why they get confused? They get confused in that you're not feeding them the supply that they want. If the supply they're after is your complete submission to dominate you, do you see how you have failed to give that to them? Even though you've expressed that they have hurt you with the insults, the very fact that you're showing up, smiling, loving, believing in hope, believing that the relationship could still be better, do you see how that's failed to feed them? Give me an amen. Tell me you understand. Tell me you understand the problem that you have presented for Jezebel and not completely submitting. And so for this reason, they're able to approach you later on when you finally say, game over. I'm done with you, Jezebel. I'm not playing with aliens, right? I'm here on earth to have a real relationship with a loving, empathic human being. I'm not here to be with, some weird, what are the bad guys on Star Trek? I don't know. I forget what they're called. I'm not here to be with the Sith Lords. That's not Star Trek. That's Star Wars. But regardless, once you snap out of what your dream state of believing and hope in this relationship, and you're like, game over, I'm done, I'm out, now they're going to come at you and say, you never told me that I was bothering you, in which they're right. They never saw you crumble, is really what they're saying. I never saw you crumble. I never saw you lay down and give up. I never saw me dominate you. If you only would have told me that I was dominating you, then I would have had compassion. You see, that's the 4-course meal that the Jezebel spirit that narcissistic people want. They want complete domination, and you failed to give that to them. This is why they're able to say, I had no idea that I really bothered you. You always seem to laugh it off. You always seem to get back up. You never let me know that I was oppressing you. Okay? Now, how do I know this? It's disturbing. But I had a conversation with Jezebel. Absolutely. I did. I don't recommend it. When I say I had a conversation with Jezebel, I went back and I talked to the narcissistic in-laws through messaging to try to understand that mindset. Like I said, I don't recommend you do this because it's a dark place. It's all kinds of twists and turns and nastiness and lies and hypocrisy, the extent of which will make you feel dumber having even had a conversation with Jezebel. But I did it. I did it for the sake of you so I could share this message, so I can gain insight. And in my discussion with them, with this Jezebel spirit person, I said, listen, all these things that were said, don't come around here saying that you love me and my family and my kids when you showed the opposite. And Jezebel said, you never told me that I was upsetting you, Kevin. You never indicated it. You were always laughing. You were always shrugging it off. You were always acting like everything was good. And in a way, I was kind of proud of that. I'm like, yeah. Basically, I didn't give you the supply you wanted, is what you're telling me. But I pushed back against Jezebel, and I said, wait a minute. Was that your goal? Was that your goal, Jezebel, to see me cry? You wanted to see me cry? And then you would have stopped? Somebody has to tell you that you're hurting them in order for you to stop? This gave me insight into the sick and twisted world of narcissists. I had to tell you? Wow, how evil. How weird. But it's the absolute truth, because that's where their supply is. All right? And by the way, I said, listen, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to submit. Basically, my point was, I'm not going to submit to you. I'll never bow down to you. I'm not going to get low for you, let you know that you're oppressing me. As a matter of fact, this is what I told Jezebel. I said, Jezebel, I'm going to let you treat me how you want to treat me. And then I'm going to judge you based on how you treat me. And I'm going to judge my distance from you and the protection of my family and the protection of myself off of what you show me. I will never tell you that you're bothering me. Why would I give the satisfaction to a Jezebel spirit? And by the way, again, I'm not talking about saying, hey, stop calling me names. I did that. And you did too. Stop the insults. But what I will never do, and what I recommend you never do too, is this complete submission that feeds narcissistic people and the Jezebel spirit. So again, what they're after is your complete submission, because that's what feeds them. They need to feel that dominance. That's their 4-course meal. All the name calling and the criticisms that you've been saying, hey, listen, this bothers me, don't do that. All you're doing is giving them breadcrumbs, but not really giving them the 4-course meal, not giving them what they really want, which is your complete breakdown. Narcissistic people need to see you absolutely broken in order for them to feel, in order for them to feed, if you will, off of you. This is why they're able to come back to you and say, you never told me I was bothering you. Essentially, and by the way, this is also why the abuse in the relationship keeps ramping up. If you ever wonder that, how come it goes from criticisms to name calling to throwing things to hitting to fighting? And I'm trying to love them, but they won't stop. Well, this is why. Because they have not yet gotten to the point of having that meal from you, and that meal is watching you just dead, mentally and emotionally. So thank God you haven't given that to them. Thank God you haven't submitted to Jezebel, because God doesn't want you to submit to Jezebel. God doesn't want you to submit to your mom, dad, brother, and sister, your family of narcissistic people. God doesn't want you submitting to that. God didn't want me submitting to that. And so this is why they're able to say, you never said it bothered you. If I knew it bothered you, I would have had compassion. Now, what does it mean when a narcissistic person says, if I saw that it bothered you truly, I would have had compassion? What they're saying is, I would have been able to eat off of you. I would have been able to have that supply. And then I would have had compassion on you. They look at themselves like kings or queens with their feet on you, right? Okay, I'll leave you alone now. Thank you for feeding me. This is what makes it super important that you go no contact and you stay away from these people. Being grateful that you never gave them the supply that they really need. Be grateful at this point that you did not give the Jezebel the privilege of feeling like they squashed you. All right? And by the way, at this point now, narcissistic people will in fact leave you alone.